time to move on now. It's time for Best of Britain.
Best of Britain.
Well, we're going to meet someone now called Ciara Curran, who is founder of Little Heartbeats, which is PPROM awareness. Now, I'll let her explain all of that. So, a very good morning to you, Ciara.
Good morning, David.
Good morning. Good morning. Now, you are Best of Britain. Do you want to just tell us, you've just been awarded an award, haven't you? Tell us about the award.
So, I had an email last week to tell me that I'm the Coronation Champion, and I've been invited by the Queen and the King to go to the Coronation concert next week.
That's amazing. So you were picked out of 5,000 entries, Ciara, weren't you? 5,000 entries. You are now, you've got an award for the Coronation, so you're obviously going to the Coronation concert. How do you feel?
I feel excited and overwhelmed, to be honest, because I don't do this to gain anything. I do it because I want to raise awareness and help women who are going through PPROM.
Right. Do you want to just explain PPROM or PPROM? Just explain what that is for people at home.
So PPROM is so PPROM stands for preterm pre-labour rupture of membranes, which in lay terms is when your waters break early before 37 weeks of pregnancy. And today in the UK, at least two women every 3 days will experience PPROM under 23 weeks, and it's associated with 30 to 40% of preterm births. So it's quite a big number, but we don't speak about it because many women don't actually get told of the medical condition. And also we're working on very old guidelines, which we have made massive changes. So back in 2017, the RCOG archived our guidelines, and we had to go to them and say, why have you done this? And they basically said, well, the NICE guidelines, I've covered it under the preterm birth guidelines. And we said, no, that's not enough. So we worked with the RCOG.
Well, let me just jump in and go backwards in case people are getting confused here. So we've got premature rupture of the membranes, as you rightly say, which can lead to preterm labour. So essentially, you're pregnant, your membranes rupture, and then you're at high risk. Okay. So that's the important thing. Now, the reason. So just tell us your story, because this condition affected you, didn't it?
Yes, it did. So in 2010, on the 15th of April, I lost my first baby, Sinead.
I'm sorry.
And it was just a matter of things that happened. So when I called the hospital, I called about 5 times, and all I got told was just use a sanitary towel. But my water had already gushed out, so I wouldn't have felt anymore.
And how many weeks were you at that point?
I was around 19 plus weeks or something, so I was just under 20 weeks.
Right. And
so you know full well that something's not great with your pregnancy. You know it's not normal to have your waters break. You know, you go past the 12 weeks mark. I'm one of 9, never had any issues in pregnancy, and so you just don't think of it. So you don't know. At that time, I didn't understand what PPROM was.
Sure.
About what your water's breaking. And then when I eventually got to, so I didn't feel comfortable, so I went to the GP. The GP sent us to the birth centre. Now, I live out in the countryside, so it's like 40 minutes to a main hospital.
Yeah.
At no point did someone tell me I needed to go to the main hospital, who are able to deal with this kind of condition. And when I went down to the birth centre, unfortunately, the midwife said it can't happen this early. Tried to go home and relax. I can't see anything wrong. Go home. And then a week later, I lost the baby. And there was so many things that happened in the hospital. And it wasn't until I got my medical notes that I found out my condition was called PPROM. And that's why it set me into setting up Little Heartbeats.
Right, if I may just pause you for a minute and bring in Dr. Renee there. I mean, it's a terrible story. Do you just want to put some medical perspective on that?
Hi, Ciara. So,
Hiya.
It is a terrible story. And don't forget, this is a baby at 20 weeks, which is, you know, a proper baby. baby.
Fully formed,
It doesn't matter that we don't call it viable until 24 weeks. This is a fully formed baby. And when somebody's waters breaks, the risk that they're at immediately is infection. So that's the biggest risk. So not when I did obs and gynae.
So the waters basically keep a sterile environment around the growing fetus.
Yeah. So as soon as that water's gone, there's an opening for bacteria to get in, and infection can actually damage the pregnancy. Now, at 19 weeks, there are other risks as well, because if you haven't got that water around the baby, they can't move properly, and neither can they swallow all of the time, which actually trains their gastrointestinal tract. So there is a lot of debate over whether or not a baby at that age could survive. But I can tell you that I actually, when I did my obs and gynae, saw a set of twins that had PPROM at 20 weeks, and those twins were delivered at 27 weeks. But that mother had to stay in hospital from the moment those waters broke until those babies were born, being constantly monitored, constantly scanned, and having antibiotics to stop infection.
So Ciara was sent home, told not to worry, so that was the wrong decision.
It was absolutely the wrong decision.
And so, Ciara, obviously, you went home, you then learned subsequently all about this condition. And so then tell us what you did from there.
So it was actually after, so at 21 weeks, I lost the baby, and I felt like if I had been given antibiotics, if I'd been given a scan and told of the diagnosis, then maybe she'd be alive today.
Yeah.
And because of the way I was treated, I always felt like it was a bit faulty towers, and I lost a lot of trust in the profession, doctors and midwives, and it took me a long time. But that kind of pushed me into making a difference. So I was already in some baby loss groups, and we also felt there was nothing supporting women with PPROM. So I set up the support groups on Facebook, and I have about 10,000 in these groups. We're separated sometimes. So women lose a baby, we have a PPROM loss group. If they have a baby neonatal and beyond, we have a neonatal group, and then we have a group for everyone that's going through PPROM as well, and then also pregnancy after PROM. And I set up the website, I think it was 2013, because I did do some charity work for another charity, and I ran the London Marathon for them, but they didn't understand how important PPROM was and how we needed to look after these women that needed to be heard. And then I met Professor Anna David, through the UCLH, who was working on the resealing of membranes project, which is ongoing. And that's basically, they're hoping to find a way to seal the membranes up so we don't have to worry too much about infection, plaques, and
That's amazing. Let me just bring Dr. Renee in. I mean, that is incredible if that can be done.
That would be incredible. And I think what Ciara's pointing out here is that there are women all over the country who probably, like Ciara, didn't know what PPROM was and have then been left without any resource or any assistance. And what Ciara's done is set up groups where women can actually connect.
So you don't feel alone.
You don't feel alone, and you can access information, because I've seen what Ciara does on there. And I think it's amazing, and I think that's why she's been awarded this Coronation Champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And just in terms of the feedback from other women, what's it been to you?
It's just been incredible, because I think I once had an email from somebody in America, and she said, just because of your website, we decided to carry on the pregnancy, and now we have a baby at home, and that's just incredible. So
that must bring you great joy to know that actually out of this terrible adversity, that what you've done has changed other people's lives.
Yes, it has. And then it makes a massive difference. And it's the spectrum, because it's really difficult, because I look after women who have surviving babies, and I have mums that have, babies that didn't survive. So it's a big, massive thing. And in my care packs, I send out care packs to women as well. So they go all over the UK, all over America and Australia. And we send these little heartbeat bears out. And basically, you can put your baby's heartbeat on.
Oh, that's very sweet. Can we?
And then can you hear that?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
And then the ladies can put it inside the teddy bear, and it's just some comfort. And on our teddy bears, we have "You are not alone," and it's that little message, and trying to keep our mums nice and calm, because it's so very daunting. We don't know what's going to happen until the baby's born. But we are making changes to the women who have PPROM under 23 weeks. We recently had some research published, Googling PPROM, and it found out why we need to have the medical condition to be talked about in a medical way. And I always feel it's, you know, like you said before, I was listening to you before, that doctors should be taking the lead in looking after these women, and women should be under the obstetricians who have PPROM, and they shouldn't just be sent home. And if they're under 24 weeks, not to write these babies off, because some do. Yes, infection is a risk, but we have to learn the right time to deliver and listen to women's symptoms, and it can take lives.
Absolutely, Renee. Let me just bring you in finally.
I think just one really important point. Ciara said that there was a baby here now who the parents decided to keep if they hadn't, because they read about her website.
Yeah.
The advice from medical doctors, I can tell you, if your waters break at 20 weeks, will be to terminate the pregnancy, because there are risks, there really are, in development and infection. But, as I've said, you have a choice to whether or not you want to take those risks, and it's being armed with the information.
Yeah, you've put it beautifully.
Can I just mention one thing, please?
Indeed.
There's doctors I'm working with at King's Cross and Liverpool Women's, and I want to thank them for believing in me, because we're going to have a UCOS study results on under 23 weeks, and it's going to be a life changer. And they cannot just tell women to terminate. They're going to have to tell women you can terminate or continue, and we've got the results of that. And I can't explain them yet until the work's published. And a big thank you to Lisa Story and Megan and Fiona, because we've just done some research on the impact of women's health, because everyone thinks about the baby, but it's the mum's mental well-being as well. And if we get the support during the pregnancy, it can make a massive difference to the future of our mums going through this condition.
Absolutely. Well, Ciara, I just hope you have a fantastic time at the Coronation Concert. You should also be incredibly proud of what you've done as well, and that is why Ciara Curran is the best of Britain.
Best of Britain.